All kinds of nasty dangers lurk within the bush and beneath the sun-baked soil of the Australian outbacks. From spiders so venomous they can hospitalize a human being to the infamous brown snake that's caused numbers of deaths. But in April 2018, two teenagers ran into another kind of danger they never expected to face. The teens had been riding through mud flats on motorbikes just outside of Sydney when an unusual sight caught their eye. Lodged in the mud was something they hadn't quite expected to see, and they instantly realized it was a life or death situation. The boys then had to make a decision: play it safe and stay away, or risk their lives to save another. In April 2018, two 19-year-old Australians, Jack Donnelly, left, and Nick Heath, right, were cruising on their motorbikes through the Agnes Banks near the Nepean River in Sydney, Australia, when something caught Jack's eye. A pair of ears was sticking out of a crevice in the muddy soil that stretched towards a fairway embankment. Whatever owned those ears was groaning and whimpering, so the boys investigated. About 100 feet away in the mud was an animal beloved throughout Australia, an eastern grey kangaroo, similar to the one pictured here, though much smaller. "We think he went searching for water there," Nick surmised on Australia's Today, "and it was really muddy, so he got himself really stuck." The boys could have let Mother Nature handle the teeny kangaroo. He was a wild animal after all. They could have called animal services, but time was of the essence, so they bolted home, grabbed some rope, and rushed back to where the kangaroo was fighting for his life. "The roo's life was important to us," Nick said, "so we did something daring and dangerous. He tied the rope around his waist and army crawled out to the mudlogged kangaroo. Would it be enough to pull the poor marsupial to safety?" Meanwhile, Jack stood back, camera and rope in hand. He was ready to pull his friend back once he was given the command. Nick continued to brave the mud. His path toward the animal, who still groaned for help, was not as glorious as the boys had supposed. "Update," Nick yelled back to his filming friend. "This is a lot harder than we thought." Nevertheless, after a painstakingly slow crawl through the thick sludge, Nick managed to wrap his arms around the suffering kangaroo. The small marsupial securely in his grasp, Nick turned back toward his friend. "You want to start pulling, Jack?" he asked, cool as a cucumber. Jack did so, and in moments, Nick had both feet on semi-solid ground, still clinging tight to the kangaroo. Unfortunately, after struggling for who knows how long in the mud flap, the kangaroo wasn't ready to accept his rescue just yet. He continued withering even after Nick pulled him from the mud. Eventually, the kangaroo was free, but cold mud has caked his body. Exhaustion and starvation had sapped his strength. The boys knew this rescue effort wasn't even close to complete. They needed to make a calculated next step. Jack and Nick contacted Wires, a wildlife rescue organization based in Brookvale, New South Wales. But as Wires' volunteers traveled out to the boys' location, the duo realized something about their little Roo in distress. Why, he didn't have a name. So while they waited, Nick and Jack searched for the most popular baby names online and picked the perfect one for their new kangaroo buddy, Lucas. "We liked it," Nick said. "It's cute." Unfortunately, the fun and games were momentarily over for Lucas. The Wires volunteer retrieved him and brought him back to headquarters for inspection. Workers had a lot of work to do to get him healthy. Wires sedated Lucas, and according to the nonprofit's Facebook page, he was slowly warmed, then washed in tepid water to get rid of all clay that was coating him, then warmed up again, slowly, to get his body temperature up and given warm fluids. Within a few days, Lucas was hopping around Wires' headquarters like he'd never been trapped in the mud flaps at all. But the rescuers still had some concerns about the little guy. Without knowing how long he was struggling to get out of his clay pit, Wires shared on Facebook, "We don't know the extent of his exertion, and he's still at risk of myopathy, which sadly can be fatal. In the meantime though, he looked just fine." Jack and Nick were keen to see their new friend, who they admitted helped raise their stock among pals, who were impressed the two made national news. "They appreciate what we did," Nick said of his friends. Even Jack's grandmother, Carrie Reynolds, weighed in on the rescue to 9 News Australia. "It was just good that they stopped and went to the effort of helping the poor thing," she said. But did the duo have any regrets? Not at all. It's a pretty patriotic thing to do, and we're proud of what we did. Nick later told Today after the rescue, "If we saw something like that again, we'll do it all over again. The world's a better place when people are willing to help a struggling animal, even if it means risking your life and wading through dangerous mud. It's good to know that animal lovers like these young fellas down under are always happy to help a roo in need. Kangaroos may be talented jumpers, but that skill only takes you so far when you're stuck in the mud." Lucas lucked out that Nick and Jack took the time to help him out